Ramin, to get us started, give me two truths and a lie, please.
Okay, thanks, George, for having me. Um, I have completed 8 marathons and a full Ironman. I have performed at Madison Square Garden for a New York Knicks game, and I still own the same tax lot of the first stock I ever purchased.
Oh my goodness. These are excellent. These are excellent. 8 marathons. You performed at a Knicks game, and you still own the same tax lot for the first thing you ever bought. Mm. I'm gonna guess that you've not. So you said 8 marathons and an Ironman. I bet you have not run 8 marathons.
Okay, so I have run 8 marathons.
Arr! You got me. Which one was the
Yeah.
lie?
Um, the tax lot of the first stock, I reset it by donating the stock a couple years back. So I still own it, and the stock is Costco. But I definitely don't have that same lot. As emotional as it was to get rid of it, it made a lot of sense to donate and reset my basis.
Awesome. I appreciate that. All right. So what were you performing at the next game?
Played the national anthem with my brother, cello and bass duo,
Wow.
for the New York Knicks game. So we play all around the country at major arenas, performing the national anthem.
I saw on your LinkedIn that you went to Juilliard. Is that right?
Yeah,
It's amazing.
thank you.
And what was that like performing at Madison Square Garden? No big deal for a consummate professional like you.
You know what? Once the crowd goes north of 20,000, you don't really see the people, so you don't get that nervous. So we've been doing it for a long time, and performing is, really the passion and the enjoyment I get from music. So it's just a great time. And as you know, I'm a wealth advisor. My brother has a startup, so we live in two different worlds, but music gets to bring us together, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. I mean, just to have a friend to be able to perform with at that level, let alone your brother, that's a pretty special thing for sure.
Thank you.
Were your parents able to see it?
Yeah, my dad always backstage and my mom enjoying, and thankfully my fiance has gone on board and sister-in-law, so we have a whole crew backstage for it.
All right. Well, that is super cool. All right. And you like running apparently too. So,
Yeah. That's a family trait. My father's completed 25 marathons. So together we've run the New York City Marathon together.
well, that's also awesome. Look at you as a family doing wonderful activities together.
Family dynamics, I love it.
Super cool, man. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to dig in. What is top of mind for you right now?
I'd say really navigating the challenges of living for today, and living and saving for tomorrow. It's a big conversation for me personally, but also within the practice, especially with financial challenges a lot of younger adults are going through, whether it's first-time home ownership, handling student debt, um, the increase for cost of goods, just figuring out how do I enjoy my life today, but how do I secure my financial future for tomorrow and the years to come?
Yeah, that's a tough one. We all
Yeah,
know we're supposed to be living in the moment and that tomorrow is not promised, and I need to save a lot of money for my retirement eventually and for these big purchases because stuff is more expensive. So how do you do that?
really, it's about finding a balance and really finding a partner, whether that's a financial advisor or a family member or doing the research on your own to be financially literate, where this whole idea of financial well-being, which is a huge part of your podcast, and I enjoyed your um, conversation with Grant Gallagher on financial well-being, but the emotional side of finances shouldn't dictate an investment decision. I've always said, don't let emotions get in the way of a good investment decision. So finding a balance of what you want to do today and what you want to prepare for, and secure for tomorrow. And really that's putting a plan in place, whether that's a action plan, a financial plan, or just a personal goal plan.
At some level, we really overcomplicate things, and I can sit here and just spin myself up thinking about, oh, I need to live for today and I need to be saving for tomorrow. But I also probably have been guilty of just not having that plan, of not being intentional enough to go through that exercise of knowing if I want to retire at this age, here's how much roughly I need to be saving. So I imagine that a lot of folks you're working with, it's the first time that they've actually put pen to paper, or maybe I'm wrong.
Sure. Yeah, no, a lot of people don't have financial plans. They don't really appreciate the significance of it until they've gone through the process. So, once you go through the process, you can really determine the rate of return you need to achieve your goals. And that helps you from a risk perspective of not needing to overshoot risk for return, or potentially you're not taking enough risk for that return. I'd say that some of these challenges are really based on fear, and especially when we're talking about the younger adults, I'd say this almost fear of missing out. And I see three really important ones out there. One is, oh, I'm missing out on the cryptos of the world and investing in these coins, and oh my God, I just missed out on a 10x return by buying cryptocurrency. Um, the other one is I'm saving for a house, and I can't really invest that money because I need to buy that house in 1 or 2 years. But maybe I don't know when I'm going to buy that house. So you're just sitting on cash, and you're missing out on prudent investment decisions that you want to make, or your advisors potentially recommending to you. And then this other fear of missing out is this: in this new digital world, we're seeing a lot of content creators out there talking about affiliated marketing and drop shipping, and really, I would say, inflating their success stories. And that puts a lot of fear out to the rest of the world who, are either working in corporate America or starting their own business, that, making money is so easy. So I think that puts a lot of fear and emotional stress to the individual and family that is trying to build a really nice nest egg and financial future.
That makes a lot of sense. And certainly I think that we can probably all identify looking at Bitcoin at now 100,000 or whatever it's trading at. And geez, we should have put all of our money into it when it was at 4,000 or $12,000 last year. And the housing thing is certainly a tricky one because of values, but having to save up a big chunk of money and having to feel like you're foregoing other things in the process of doing that. And then certainly paying attention to folks online talking about how easy it is to make money and why am I not doing that? Why am I a sucker who's working a regular job? So
Yeah.
there is a lot going on there. In terms of balance, I mean, my balance is going to be different than yours. It's going to be different than your brother's. It's going to be different than your dad's.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say when you put a plan together, or you're speaking to your family or to your significant other, identifying these goals and making sure that they're achievable, from a short-term time horizon to a long term, and then prioritizing those. That's really going to put you in a place where you can navigate from there. So these early conversations, these short-term conversations, and these long-term conversations really play an important role of how you're going to prioritize them. Um, Once you have that kind of laundry list of goals, whether it's travel, home purchase, a step up for a second home, or ensuring uh, you're going to fully pay for your kids' education, those priorities will then just create that list from 1 to 10. And once you knock one down, you can go to the second, to the third, to the fourth. In terms of balance of living for today versus living for tomorrow, um, just really being prudent. In a couple podcasts, I heard, you've mentioned that you used to be not the best with money, how you use it. And that could put a really emotional toll in terms of you making financial decisions and having that conversation. So I'd say once you feel proud of the investment, saving, and just overall financial decisions you're making, you're in a much healthier place to be able to prioritize those goals and make that balance of living for today versus saving for tomorrow.
And that should be something that you do. You should feel proud that you've gone through the exercise of thinking about what's most important and then actually prioritizing and starting to take action on realizing or achieving those priorities.
Sure. I mean, it's as simple as eliminating a couple subscriptions that you have. If you want to travel for your honeymoon, capitalize on some credit card bonus miles or travel points. Utilize a zero APR card so that your assets can compound. Understand the term of your student loan so that you're not just flipping a switch, looking at it after 2 years and realize that you've been accumulating interest for 2 years. So that accountability, but also just very small proactive steps can make one feel so proud about their financial decision making.
I think I remember learning about Daniel Kahneman's work talking about how 90% of the decisions that people make around money are based on emotion. I remember thinking there's no way that that's true for me. And then I thought about it and I realized, oh, so much of what I do is based on the way that I feel. And that doesn't help us with investing or probably financial management in general.
For sure, for sure. That's why I've always said, this idea of financial well-being, finances and emotions are so intertwined together. But if you can segregate that towards or an investment decision, that's where you'll start to see that success. It's impossible to take the emotions out of finances, but it is possible to take the emotions out of a financial investment decision.
That's a wonderful distinction right there. I mean,
Thank you.
money is such an emotional thing, and we put
Yeah,
so much weight on it and give it so much power. And but that doesn't mean we need to allow the tail to wag the dog. We're
sure.
still in control and we're aware of our emotions and we can feel them, but not necessarily act on them.
Yeah.
That's easy. Just do that, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe that's why you need to have somebody in your corner if it's a family member, a friend, or an advisor.
Yeah, for sure. And also in this new age, we're starting to see all these fintech companies, come out. And while they're attractive and there's definitely benefits to them, I'm talking about the Chimes and the SoFis of the world, um, there is no other person on that side. And when someone that maybe doesn't have a financial advisor yet or is still trying to understand this concept of financial literacy and a holistic approach to finances using debt, getting a mortgage, a home equity line, a credit line, investments, CDs, money markets, stocks, bonds, cash. When there's someone on the other side and you get a good person, they're going to be great stewards to you. So I've always steered away from these, fintech uh, technology bank accounts just because there's no person on the other side that can provide advice and it's so customized that you really need another person on the other side.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing what obviously technology is impacting everything,
Sure.
but not necessarily replacing what you've just laid out. I think that that certainly makes a lot of sense. In terms of, hmm, it is so hard to suss out and to get down to what really matters to people and what their priorities are. How do you, is it I just asking people what is most important to them? How do you help them to sort of connect those dots?
Yeah, for sure. It can start as simple as a question of what's top of mind, and then it just goes from there. So, as advisors, we really need to be good at asking questions because that's where we uncover and discover the deep the deep stuff. Whether that is making sure that your kids are fully covered for education, whether it is making sure that you have an estate in preparation for them, whether it is having a bi-coastal life and having a property on the East Coast and a property on the West Coast, whether it is travel, whether it is having a nice car or getting a new boat. These are all, realistic goals that people can achieve once you put it on a piece of paper and you understand what do I need to do to get to that point.
Yeah,
So those conversations have been beautiful, they've been meaningful and extremely successful because once you put a plan together, it's just about taking those prudent steps of achieving it.
kind of demystifies it, makes it more real.
Sure. And there are a lot of challenges, like what we spoke, the cost of a home, we're in a relatively high interest rate environment for the younger adults out there. They weren't around for when mortgage rates were at 12, 14%. So there are a lot of challenges in terms of how am I going to buy a home if home prices are skyrocketed and I can't even get a mortgage below 6%. That's where we discuss potentially using other sorts of facilities, maybe going variable for a little bit. So that's where the financial advisor and the team comes in place to say, yeah, we have these goals, we've identified them, but there are ways for us to achieve them while navigating through a lot of the challenges people are facing today.
Yeah. Do you find that people are coming to you ready to plan? I guess my question is, a lot of the time we need to experience or see somebody go through a problem, or we get some kind of a diagnosis. Like I got cancer, I need to be thinking about this stuff, or we had a baby. Like what is it that catalyzes people to actually start the planning process?
Sure. It's definitely advisor driven, I would say. So every advisor has their process, whether, taking it slow to introduce the relationship and not go too heavy into a plan, or using a plan to get to know your clients in your relationship. So I take that latter approach where a plan really commences the relationship to understand where we sit, what your goals are, what are we trying to achieve with your money, rather than just shoot for a crazy rate of return. The plan really puts everything in place. So I'd say that I've been very proactive in every relationship. Every client of mine has a financial plan, whether it's super comprehensive and detailed or using a notepad and pen to outline some goals. Everyone has a plan.
So instead of just, hey, Ramin, can you help me with this investment account? It's, yeah, of course I can, but let's have a quick conversation, or let's engage in a little bit more formalized process.
Sure, I'd say that anyone who isn't open or invested in putting a plan in place, whether it's extremely simple or in depth, they may not be the right fit for me because without that plan, I can't determine what rate of return you need. I can't determine what your goals are. I can't determine what we're doing with your investments. What's the end game? The plan does that.
And it's also, it's just to build on that. And I don't know that people think about it because we're conditioned to be able to buy things just with one click and then have it show up at the house. So why wouldn't I just click my investment portfolio? Like, well, no,
Sure.
because it's everything is impacting everything else. So what you have going on in your IRA is going to be potentially really germane and important to knowing what's going on with your 401k and your family situation and everything else. It's all interrelated.
Exactly. And, with all these different buckets of investments, and I'll just say the three simple ones, it's your liquid bucket, your stocks, bonds, cash, your retirement assets, which are these deferred assets, and then the third is real estate. When you put a plan in place and there's a liquid need, maybe for a down payment on a home, that's going to tell us that we need to be more conservative on the liquid bucket, but that also tells us that we can be much more aggressive on the retirement bucket because that's longer term money. Um, all of these scenarios and financial decisions are based on a plan versus maybe just being diversified and kind of blended across accounts. So I think it's really important to have those conversations. I think it's an advisor's responsibility to be proactive and ensure that the client and the relationships are receptive to it. And there's definitely a formula of getting it done, and I think I've done a really great job of being proactive on that.
Love it. Well, Ramin, we're ready for your difference making tip. What do you have for us?
I'd say be accountable for making sure that you feel financially secure. And as I said before, don't let emotions get in the way of a prudent investment decision. And if you haven't, find an advisor that feels more like a partner than someone you've just hired. It's really important to have a steward navigate through the ever-changing life of your financial journey. So if you love watching this podcast, look through some of the advisors. And of course, you can always reach out to me or any advisor, I'm sure, on the show to talk about some of the challenges you're facing and see how we can help or see if we're the right fit.
Well, I think that that is great stuff. That definitely gets it. Come on. I mean, give us all the places that people can connect with you. And then I've got one more question for you.
Of course. Yeah, my website is concurrent, NY as in New York.com. Also on Instagram, uh, at Ramin Abrams.
Excellent. My last question is how you look at the world of the markets or investments, you're just all the work you're doing as an advisor. How does it relate to, if it does, music, playing music?
For sure. Regarding outlook on the markets, I don't see much of a correlation. But with relationships and being a financial advisor, as a musician, I started at age 2.5, performing all over the country. And there's a lot of preparation uh, right before you get on that stage. And when you get on that stage, you're performing for an audience and creating this experience, almost like a motif, which is a theme. So I like to say that every client has their own motif, and the preparation and presentation that I provide my clients is very similar to the passion I have in performing music.
Outstanding. Love it. Well, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, show Ramin your appreciation. Share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. You can find him at concurrentny.com. Find him on Instagram, and I will link all the different ways in the notes of the show. Thanks again, Ramin.
My pleasure. Thanks, George.
Finally, friendly reminder, there's never going to be anybody as interested in your financial success as you are, so act accordingly.